Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Toy, a film critic for FilmBook. Today I will be reviewing the movie Godzilla 2014. Except minus the 2014 because it's just Godzilla. We've taken to calling it Godzilla 2014. And this is all part of the Legendary Pictures Monsterverse retrospective, culminating in Godzilla vs. Kong. Godzilla 2014 is directed by Gareth Edwards, written by Ishiro Honda, and stars Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Elizabeth Olsen, Bryan Cranston, and certainly not Godzilla. Now for this retrospective, the first retrospective for FilmBook, we're doing a new thing now, I was going to go all the way back to all the Godzillas, all the King Kongs, but there's two reasons why I didn't. Number one, a lot of people just don't care about the older stuff. Number two, the Legendary Pictures Monsterverse is a contained story in and of itself, consisting of the movie you're about to watch the review for, followed by Kong Skull Island. After that comes Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and finally, Godzilla vs. Kong. But I will say on my YouTube channel, I reviewed the original 1933 King Kong, and I watched it with my daughter, and she reviewed it with me. And so I would implore you to go take a look at that on YouTube. Just type in King Kong 1933, should you watch it? Or look for that in Apple Podcasts. I'll put the link for that below. I have to say, with my 7-year-old daughter helping me out with that review, it's the cutest King Kong review you've ever heard in your life. But let's jump into Godzilla 2014. So, what's my history with Godzilla? There's really not too much to report on. I know that Godzilla was he was a reaction to the Hiroshima bombing. And so he's born somewhere in the 50s. They've made multiple movies about Godzilla in different scenarios, fighting different monsters, and even different genres. In fact, one of the later ones I've heard of is a Japanese made film, Godzilla. I think it's Shin Godzilla or something. I forget what it's called, but it won an award, which is an equivalent to Best Picture Academy Award. And I have heard that it's good, and it's something that I would like to look into. So if you've heard about it, if you've seen it, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about it. So that's about where my personal textbook of Godzilla starts and ends. Not too much history there. However, I will say, in 1998, Matthew Broderick and Roland Emmerich came along. And oh my God, how excited I was for this Godzilla. For this movie. I didn't even care that it was Godzilla. It was just a giant-ass monster. I remember very clearly the Taco Bell cups with Godzilla's leg and his foot. I remember driving into downtown LA, where I lived 40 minutes north of at the time, and there were building skyscraper-sized posters of Godzilla's just foreleg and then his foot taking up like 12 feet. Just his foot taking up 12 feet of the building. These posters. And billboards, and everywhere you go into the grocery store, it was like going into the grocery store during March Madness or during Thanksgiving, and all you see is football this, football that, basketball this, basketball that, and during March. But this was Godzilla season. And it was on every Coke, it was on every Coke bottle, every Lay's potato chips bag, everything. You couldn't escape it. Even if you were in a coma, you knew that Godzilla was coming out. And being a fan of monster movies, being a fan of obviously Jurassic Park, and being a kid still, I had almost never been more excited for a film. And I remember, got a fly, yes, got a fruit fly. We get them in the house. I remember even as a 15-year-old kid, I noticed that they were not going to show you Godzilla's face. If you wanted to see Godzilla's face, you had to buy yourself a ticket, plop your ass down in the movie theater seat, and experience the dread that we ended up being tricked into seeing. That was a rough one. Although, I will say, as a kid, I wasn't willing to admit that it was a bad movie. I still came out of it like pretty hyped. I was like, cool, it was good. I saw what I wanted to see. Godzilla stomping on taxis, knocking down buildings, and but there was a part of me that knew it wasn't a great movie. And if you go back and watch it now, it's bad. It's real bad. Not even the inner child in me can be satisfied with what Roland Emmerich brought us. So, needless to say, when Godzilla 2014 came around, I wasn't that excited. I was a little bit blasé about it. I was just, all right. I think we're just now in a day and age where any hope of the magic of Jurassic Park or Aliens or what have you, any hope of that magic being recaptured, I think that's the kind of magic that cannot be recaptured today. And we just might be outside of Marvel. I think studios are clamoring to find what the next magic phase is. What's the next thing that's going to get people excited and make their movies timeless? However, what did intrigue me was the marketing. Just this sepia visual of Godzilla just hulking over a burnt out city, or sulking, I should say. He's just sulking, and I like the Japanese logo of Godzilla behind the English translation of Godzilla. And you could tell that it's going to be a very Christopher Nolan-esque film. You would have to see it to see if a Christopher Nolan self-serious film would work in a campy concept. And that's really what this film is. It's a family drama where the title monster takes a back seat. Not only does Godzilla take a back seat to the human characters, he takes a back seat to the other Mutos who are in this film. This movie could have been called Mutos. This movie could have been called Family Ties. It had no right to be called Godzilla, I don't think. Sure, he's the hero that comes out on the top at the end, but he's barely in it. And I know you can make an argument, like Predator is barely shown in the movie Predator, and I get that. But the movie Predator was all about them hunting Predator. Godzilla takes left and right turns all over the place, and its main focus is really on the human characters, which is really boring. If it was a good human character dynamic and a good human story, I would be all on board. Give me great characters. Give me some wit. Give me some emotion. But this movie lacked all of that. And for that, I have to say, Godzilla took a back seat to this movie for no good reason. Bryan Cranston, the drug lord, doesn't even survive 30 minutes into this movie. All right, now let's do something. I'm gonna go down the IMDb cast list, and I'm gonna read off the star power behind this movie, and I'll spoil what happens to them. First, we've got Aaron Taylor Johnson. He's top billed, yet he's not billed in the advertising. We'll get into that in a minute. Ken Watanabe is the main force here. I'll give him a pass. He's also one of the few carryover characters. Bryan Cranston, Breaking Bad fame, and he's the dentist who sexually took advantage of Jerry Seinfeld, if you remember. As I said, he doesn't make it very long because the studio could only afford him for about a week on set, not a couple months. Elizabeth Olsen. Elizabeth Olsen is a pointless character who pops up here and there randomly, which is too bad because I really like her. Sally Hawkins kind of just stands there to make Ken Watanabe look better. And let's see, we got Juliette Binoche. She's in this, I think, right? Or did I blink? Yeah, I'll say her death was incredibly emotional. When I think back to this movie, that is actually the scene that I think of the most. It's a very touching and riveting scene where Bryan Cranston, as the husband, has to make the decision to slam the door and watch her die through the window. That's a very harrowing scene. But again, she's barely in it. David Strathairn, an actor I love mainly from A League of Their Own and River Wild. But again, I don't remember really him being in this. That's just to name a few, but you'll recognize some others. It's a very densely populated film. But it begs the question, did this movie just blow its wad on the star power? I mean, if it did, it just ultimately left us with wanting more Godzilla. Was that intentional? Don't get me wrong, when we do get Godzilla, it's glorious. It's fun, it's disaster porn that you want, but it's so little of this movie. And you've got to understand, what I'm saying, is coming from a guy who values story over action any day. I'm the guy that dozes off, checks out mentally during many action scenes. But when the story in a movie is so bad, so drab and dull, that a guy like me is longing for some buildings to topple and people to get crushed, that's a bad sign. Part of this reason I think the story is bland, I'm going to put on the shoulders of Aaron Taylor Johnson. This is Aaron Taylor Johnson. Kick-ass. I don't mean he was kick-ass in this movie. I'm talking he was kick-ass. With Hit Girl, Bat Dad, Red Mist. He kicked ass in Kick-Ass. Yet you put him in a Godzilla movie. You give him you give him this role on a silver platter where he can do so much with this and elevate this movie. As bland as the story is, he could have elevated his character to a whole new level, yet he just let it slip through his fingers. I'm disappointed in Aaron Taylor Johnson. He has no emotion. The only reason we know that he's a good guy is because he's in the U.S. military trying to get home to his wife and kid, and then there's a scene where he randomly rescues some boy who's lost by himself on a train before the train crashes. Those are the only two reasons why we know he's a good guy. But other than that, he takes up the most screen time in this movie. He hogs the screen, and yet, I don't remember his face at all. Elizabeth Olsen, who plays his wife, is in this movie much less than he is, and I remember her so much more. I remember almost every other character except Aaron Taylor Johnson. He is a major letdown. He is emotionless. He is boring. He is bored, I would imagine. He's acting bored on set, like it's some big chore for him to be there. He brought this movie down quicker than Godzilla brought down the city of San Francisco. It's unforgivable what he did with the role. It's like he wasn't even present on set. I would have preferred a bad actor, because at least sometimes bad actors can be entertaining. He was the antithesis of entertainment. As for the monster fights, they were good. They were fine. I can't think of many monster fights in the span of movies that I despise, really, other than just, they were fighting and I watch it. The special effects look cool. They look good. They're top-notch, top of their game. I've got nothing to ding on the monster fights. I just wish there was more of it. Again, coming from a guy who prefers drama over action. Now, I can only compare this to the 1998 Godzilla, where it was the complete inverse of what we got here in 2014. In Matthew Broderick's Godzilla, it was almost more monster than people, but the people were goofy, right? And the movie didn't take itself too seriously. In fact, it wasn't serious at all, in any regard. In that one, the giant lizard was almost too much, and it had bad special effects. That was definitely a day Ferris Bueller should have taken off. Sorry, that was stupid. But, of the two, which one would I rather watch? I think that depends on the kind of mood I'm in, honestly. If I'm sulky and feeling moody and just dark and depressed, I'd put in Godzilla 2014. If I want to watch Dumb and Dumber but can't find it, I'm putting in Godzilla 1998. This Godzilla, though, I don't think it's fair comparing it to Godzilla 98 or any other monster movies. It's more comparable to Big Fish because it is just so heavy on the drama. That is not a knock against Big Fish. That was Tim Burton's last good film. It's just not an action scene. And for the action that's in it, it's more comparable to dark movies like Jarhead. Come to think of it, I'm not even sure I laughed in this whole movie. And any jokes that were thrown at me went way over my head. I didn't nothing. And you expect a little bit of comic relief in these sorts of movies. You do. And I'm not saying that they have to be in there. I'm not saying it's a mandate. But it would help ease the tension. And I'm not talking tension coming from the movie. Just the tension surrounding the movie watching experience. There was no anxiety, no suspense, no tension. I wasn't caring for anybody on screen. It was just, you've just got this dark cloud hanging over you. And it's just not fun. It's not fun. This movie's just not fun. And it's a monster movie. It's supposed to be fun, right? I'm not asking for minions to pop out of the screen and tell jokes and throw pies in Godzilla's face. None of that. A couple jokes here and there. Maybe a dumb comic relief. Just have fun. It's Godzilla. It's Godzilla. It's not Batman, for crying out loud. There's a lot of Spielberg influences in this film. Like the kid being the first to see the tsunami at Hawaii. There's a lot of Christopher Nolan influences in this film. The dark, heavy tone. And I think what Gareth Edwards needed to do was take those two inspirations, Spielberg and Nolan, but flip them. Take the dark, spooky parts of Spielberg, right? And even some of the comedy from Spielberg, the lightheartedness. Take some of that from him instead of just the imagery. And instead of the moodiness and sulkiness of a Nolan film, take more of the intellect. Give us more of a script to contemplate. That's what I would have done. So rating this movie is a bit difficult because while it left me wanting something else, it exceeded my expectations as far as a few action scenes it did have, right? If you want some great monster-on-monster fighting, you've got to sit through a lot, as my daughter calls it, of talking stuff. And if it was talking stuff that actually led somewhere or pertained to the story at all, then sure, go for it. Do the talky stuff. I love a good drama. But when I'm anxious to get to the fighting as a guy who revels in suspense and drama and letting things drag out, that's a big red flag for this movie. I don't like this movie, but I absolutely do not hate it. I'm a long way off from hating it, actually, but I'm a little farther away from loving it. So I'm going to give Godzilla 2014 a 4 out of 10. And that's just because it dropped the ball in so many places, particularly by our lead actor, Aaron Taylor Johnson. But I will say that of all the movies I've given a 4 to, this is the one I would go back and rewatch the most. Just because it has pockets full of scenes that I do like. That brings us to the conclusion of my review for Godzilla 2014. I'd like to thank you for watching. You can find more of my work on FilmBook. That's film-book.com. You can also find more of my video reviews on YouTube. Just type in Andrew Toy, or Should You Watch It? I'll put the link down below somewhere. And don't forget to check out King Kong 1933, Should You Watch It? That review I did with my daughter, super cute. You'll like it. As it goes, if you liked what you've heard during my review, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell icon so you're instantly notified when new reviews are published. If you agree or disagree with my review, leave your thoughts in the comments section below. And please also consider becoming one of our patrons on Patreon. The link for that is in the description below as well. Your support helps us create more engaging content. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time with Kong Skull Island.